My name's Adam Torres. I'm a co-founder of Mission Matters along with Chirag. I also host our shows. I should say I host our Mission Matters shows. So that'll be my intro. And then maybe Christine, if you want to go next.
Absolutely. Thanks, Adam. Hi, everyone. This is Christine Zorick. I'm the CEO of White Label Advisors. We are a strategic direction firm that works with high growth companies to support a fully integrated human capital strategy and HR function. Yeah, I've advised a couple AI tech companies that were focused around AI for HR tech and detecting human behavior for predictive analytics to support better connectivity, belonging, and communication within organizations. So great to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. Roman.
Pleasure to be here. My name is Roman. I'm the CEO of Ally. We are a software as a service platform that empowers merchants with enterprise tools to go direct to consumer, as well as tools for drivers to get connected with merchants and customers. Premises, everyone gets to keep 100% of the delivery and fees, therefore lower commissions and maximized earnings. Super happy to be here. Have developed and have a lot of experience in high-level machine learning, pattern recognition, and kind of from the tech side. So love this conversation.
Awesome. Good to have you here. I'll definitely be calling you out on some things. Magnus.
Hello, everybody. I'm Magnus Carter. I have over 15 years of experience in the networking world, senior network engineer with Cisco and also with Juniper. I am also the author of the Making More Money for You book series, and I am also the radio host of the Making More Money for You show.
Awesome. Great to have you, Magnus. Jackie, I haven't seen you in a little bit. Good to see you.
Hey, Adam. Nice to see you guys. Hi, folks. My name is Jackie Lee. I'm the CEO of Silva Screen Printing. We are a high-volume direct-to-retail textile manufacturer and decorator. We currently use automation for some of our manufacturing lines from the production end, and I am interested in hearing everybody's perspective on this because it is so integrated in manufacturing. It'll be nice to see alternative perspectives for that. So I look forward to talking to you all.
Awesome. Good to have you. Christy, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Adam and Chirag. So I'm Christy Morell Stinson. I'm the Chief Strategist here at Significant Advantage. We're a business strategy firm. Our focus is human wholeness as the core for building happy, healthy, wealthy companies. And we offer business expansion strategies as well as commercial real estate advisory and merger and acquisition intermediary services.
Awesome. Thank you. And Rosemary, I just saw you come in. So if you want to do your intro, please. Good to see you.
I'm Rosemary Bova, and my company is B for Bova Enterprises, and we are the executive coaches and business consultants of the group. And our aim is to help companies navigate through these times of uncertainty and build greater trust and accountability in their businesses.
Great to have you, Rosemary.
Thanks.
All right. And Chirag, are you able to talk yet, or do you want to introduce yourself? I don't know if you have a good connection yet or not. You might. If not, no big deal. If you come by later, don't worry, of course. You can say what you like. So let's get the conversation started, really. So AI versus humans. I feel like, over the last, I'd say, couple of years, they're doing all of these interviews. I've had the privilege of just interviewing a ton of people on this topic, not just on this angle, but, on AI, on advancements, on machine learning, like productivity, debunking myths. And I kind of feel like maybe we start this conversation with just some fun stuff. Like, what are some of the myths that people have heard, like, out there about, like, AI, or some of the things that they maybe think are myths?
So this is Roman. Biggest myth is AI is AI. AI currently does not exist. It is, in my opinion, extreme high-level machine learning, pattern recognition, and decision-making based on that. There hasn't been business use of an AI to make decisions by themselves without having any kind of structure and predefined coding parameters. So I would really love to get everyone's opinion about, like, what do they consider the level of AI and what does AI actually mean, to define what AI means for everyone here.
Anybody want to jump in? Come on. Don't be scared.
Well,
don't be shy.
Well,
honestly,
this is Rosemary. I just put out a blog, I guess it was 2 days ago, about accountability versus bossware. And I do think that there's a great deal of confusion out there. I see TV commercials with people now, wearing I don't even know what you call them, so I'm dating myself, but putting on these like glasses and having a virtual experience rather than having an actual experience. I happen to be a baseball fan. I watch baseball at night, and I see people taking pictures of the game, which is just absolutely bizarre to me because you're missing the entire experience. It's like going to the theater and taking a video of the action on the stage when you're missing the dynamic of the energy going between people. I just find this actually rather sad. I do find it sad, but I think there's so much richness that can come of this. But I think there's a lot of fear that AI is going to take over and dominate the human experience. I don't think that will happen, but I think that is a myth.
That's already happening, Rosemary. I was actually at a few concerts already, and everybody is watching, as you were saying, like the baseball. Everybody was on their phone recording it, trying to either record it and store it and then post it later instead of actually experiencing the event itself. So it's already here.
But when you think of AI, I think it's really about making the decisions. I just think this is a downward spiral that we're on with this, and it's a little frightening to me because it isolates people even more
Oh, I
than
completely
they've been
agree.
isolated.
And the last year and a half that we've been through, that isolation has made us heavily rely on technology.
This is Christine, and I know we touched on this last time. And with Robin, I loved your intro about how you're focused on pattern recognition, and I believe the opportunity with artificial intelligence, which is really just humans learning more about humans and being able to create these algorithms that help us understand human behavior better because we are very patternistic. And it's why when we go back centuries and read the philosophers, it's still relevant today. My kind of positive outlook on AI is that it will help us understand ourselves better. It will help us understand mental illness better. It will help us understand new ways to collaborate, or maybe just better ways to collaborate. So when we join a group, we can much more rapidly assimilate to that group because the technology is supporting information transfer, understanding about each other in new ways. And so I understand, maybe some of the negative aspects, that it could be more isolating, yet I actually believe it will be a conduit to kind of more rapid connectivity between people.
This is Roman. I agree. There's actually a cartoon on Netflix. It's called The Mitchells versus the Machines. And there's a kind of very similar. One of the girls there that's very young is on her phone and not experiencing it. And the dad looks at her and says, "Hey, why aren't you get off the phone? Experience this." Her response is, "This is how I experience it." So I think with the evolution and new youth and everything, their just experiences and definition of experiences and what they want is quite a bit different than what we expect and what we want. It's just they choose to experience these things in a different way. But in my mind, it's not necessarily worse or better. It's just different in how they feel comfortable experiencing it.
So this is Christy Morel Stinson. To Rosemary's point, I think you need to differentiate between technology and what we're calling AI, which, has already been touched on. There's a lot of definitions for, and we're not being real precise about it in the way that we're thinking about it. Yes, technology can be isolating, but as Rosemary pointed out, AI is about intelligence and making decisions that affect human beings rather than human beings making decisions that affect machines. And I think that's where the flip is. And so I just wanted to bring that into the conversation.
So this is Roman. I think maybe we can go around and for everyone to kind of say what they consider AI. I consider AI artificial intelligence when a machine can by itself ingest information and then come to a conclusion, but most importantly, ingest the information again or slightly more information and change the conclusion by itself without having any parameters or any coding or any human interaction. That's kind of what I consider AI, is the ability for a machine to change conclusions by itself?
I think it's important. This is Jackie. Sorry. I think it's important, like Roman mentioned, that we have some sort of working definition, because to mention this disconnect caused by technology, I don't think is fair necessarily when we are all sitting in a podcast talking from opposite sides of the world and having the opportunity to connect that we maybe wouldn't otherwise. I don't feel like this isn't connecting. I think it's connecting on a different level. And to define technology as integrated with artificial intelligence or AI, when in fact I think those are separate things. I think one is dependent on the other, but it's causation does not necessarily, whatever that means. So I think it's important that we differentiate between generational technology advancements and computer learning and competency outside of human interaction. And that's how I define AI, is the ability for a machine, either through a set of parameters or outside a set of parameters, to make logic-based reasoning decisions and then act upon them. We use that every single day in vast amounts of our lives without even thinking about it. So there are integrations in technology that are currently automating to make all of our lives easier, quicker, faster, more efficient, that are beyond the scope of what we are thinking about when we're saying we're not connected through technology. I think that's a valid differentiation.
This is Roman. I agree with that point of view, and I agree with that kind of definition. If we are going to all talk about that in that capacity of how technology and machines actually process information and affect our lives on a daily basis.
All right, so let's keep it moving. Chirag, are you there now? Did you get this done? Come on.
Is it?
And I
I
think
think it's working now. Can you guys
come
hear me?
on, Chirag, chime in, man. It's good to
Are you guys
have
able to
you.
hear me?
He had to
Welcome.
turn off his bot.
Yeah, I know. Oh my
And the
God.
rest of us should mute when someone's speaking. That way we don't cross talk.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So, hey everyone, Chirag here speaking. Thanks for tuning in, and apologies for all of the back and forth on I guess on all the tech issues that are there. I guess the Twitter space is a little bit buggy. They got to fix their AI here. I got to get on top of that. Yeah, I think I was able to hear like half the conversation. I kept going in and out trying to fix this dang thing. But the other co-founder of Mission Matters, alongside Adam and the rest of the team here, and definitely would love to, from what I was able to hear, I think this is an interesting dialogue, because I guess I'm curious to see what industries, AI computers are starting to impact now, and I guess how things are trending. I think each of you are in slightly different industries, so we'd love to kind of hear, how you guys see AI impacting what you guys are doing.
This is Roman. Does anyone here own a Tesla? Because that's probably the biggest use of what we can call AI that people use on a daily basis that might be like a conscious experience.
I'm not.
This is Christine. I opted out of a Tesla because the infrastructure wasn't there for me. I reside in Salt Lake City and I didn't want to be stranded based on the tech issues Tesla's still having.
Honestly, there's a bigger network out there that's actually bigger than Tesla, and we're using it right now, and it's the internet. Everything that's based on the internet is based on AI, where all the information going from one place to another place is actually determined by a set of calculations and programming.
This is Roman. You're specifically talking about routing and switches and all of that from the access points and the satellites and all of that.
Yes, that the physical layer and also the software-defined layer that's actually been coming out with Juniper and Cisco, and Fortinet is actually starting to use software-based routing, which actually is a layer on top of your physical layer. Yes.
This is Roman, and that can also apply towards probably communication as well, not only internet, but cell phones and routing and the whole idea of VoIP and matching and WhatsApp and messaging and things of that nature as well.
Oh yes, any form of communication that is talking from one person to another person, even your own POTS lines, your own telephone lines do the same thing. We've had all this back since the 1800s, I guess would be the start of it. And it just rapidly changed from there.
I guess the question that's on my mind here is, like, do we think, and I know this isn't a black and white answer, but I got to throw something out there to get everybody going. So do we think AI makes our lives, better or worse? Like, what's the feeling?
This is Jackie. I would automate every single part of my life that I could in a hot second. And that's not to negate the value of human interaction. I want my human interaction to be 100% honest and as human as possible, but as far as professionally, the more machines, the better. They don't require the same level of care and consideration, which from a manufacturing perspective makes it much more efficient and easier to handle.
Hey, hi everybody. I missed the introductions. It's Jeff Norseco, the director of publishing at Mission Matters. Nice to see everyone. I think it's a great question. It's a double-edged sword, technology and AI, because I think for every amazing application, there's going to be, something that maybe has some drawbacks. But, someone mentioned Tesla. I mean, Tesla's self-driving technology may not be perfected yet, as we can all see from kind of ongoing litigation and test data. But the concept of self-driving is something I completely believe in and I think will change the world. I have zero doubt that a properly programmed computer with all of the right technology will be able to actively move around this earth more safely than the people flying around my freeway on text, eating, drinking, talking, and doing everything else at the same time. So I think if you look at the stats, I mean, self-driving technology is going to save immense amount of lives. The technology maybe is not quite there. AI in the medical field, when it comes to precision, and if we look out into the future, when it comes to diagnosis, when it comes to precision surgery, when it comes to the reduction of health costs, when it comes to the applications are so exciting. And I think, if you start to look at other areas, obviously there's some where we can take as human beings, we have shortcomings, and where we can augment those shortcomings with technology and artificial intelligence and precision, I think that's going to be to the benefit of all of us. Of course, and it's been well documented in literature and movies, Elon Musk has some very strong feelings on AI, and he probably has more access and thought process on this than a lot. It's a blessing and a curse. So I think we're going to have to be very, very responsible, as a species as we develop the technology. But certainly there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. So I think it's really about how we're going to build ethical, moral, humanitarian structures around, AI as we integrate it into our lives.
Jeff, I
Thanks
love
for
your
that.
point.
Yeah.
This is Christy Merlstonson. The one thing I really wanted to bring to the table today is for business founders and business owners who are concerned or anxious being affected by AI, is that human experience will never be able to be approximated. Right? Is that it's based on empathy. It's based on understanding others, right? And so to Jeff's point, this is something that we're going to have to come to grips with, is this growing field and this growing power of AI. However, just taking it back to, to industry disruption, is companies that focus on human wholeness and human experience are going to have a brand differentiator that really can't be emulated.
I agree with you, Christina. This is Rosemary. I think that is something. I mean, I don't know if it was you, Jackie, who talked about the more we can, I can have technology in my life, the better. And I think that gets to a point of, in the extreme, where people are, individuals would be more and more isolated because they would be dealing with, machines, computers. I mean, this is a new language for me personally. So I'm not sure if I'm, speaking as accurately as I'm thinking myself. But I think the real importance here is, how do we do both and? And I think that I think a lot of the fears, I mean, when I hear more about, when I compare what the European Union has done in terms of privacy of information, and I see the lack of any kind of privacy information being protected by many of our, giant companies, that makes me very unsettled. And I think it's these kinds of dynamics that really are going to have to be addressed. I don't think we're going to solve them in this year, maybe in this decade. I mean, because the innovation is happening at such a rapid rate. But there's also a lot of work being done about the fact that we are energetic or electrical beings, and that there are other realms out there that we can get information from that are perhaps much further advanced than we are. And it's really kind of, recognizing ourselves as a system, and in a sense we are an electrical system. So how do we, can't think of the right word here, how do we accomplish what needs to be accomplished and work with the beauty of some of these it's a lot of background noise here.
Yeah, I would love it if people could mute so we can hear the speaker.
To the point, Christy, I think you made a really great point on this. I think the value proposition and the human interaction cannot be diminished in any way, shape, or form. And there is no way to circumvent that compared to machine learning or machine actions. I work in an industry that is heavily dependent on labor. And quite frankly, I think if we can make people's jobs easier and not burn out their bodies as fast, give them an opportunity to have a mechanical assist or something that just prolongs the experience without impacting negatively the physical being. That's more what I'm looking at when I'm talking about industrialization and machine capacities when it comes to manufacturing. It's not the intent to remove the human experience. It's the intent to augment it to further prolong or allow for modern efficiencies or better use of time, or the ability to be able to do things like Jeff mentioned in the medical world that we just can't as humans. We are limited by our imagination, but also by our physical limitations. And when you allow for automation and mechanization, you remove some of those limitations. I do think it comes with a great responsibility, however.
It does. And so I'm agreeing with everything everybody's saying. This is Matt Cook, the director of agency at Mission Matters. So all things podcast falls under me. But when it comes to AI, there's a company that goes by the name of Google that is worth $1.7 trillion. And if anybody's ever advertised and utilized their advertising side, you'd know that there is no human support anymore. It is all artificial intelligence, and it's horrible. It's one of the worst experiences you could have because there's no experience, as some of you have spoken about, from a human element. There's no, let me see, there's just set parameters, and it's not to where it needs to be, and it really leaves a poor impression. So it is being abused by those who are greedy and just want profit after profit. They want to grow their profit as much as they possibly can, and that's where AI really becomes dangerous. So I wanted to see what others have experienced. Have you experienced AI in customer service? Because that's the one avenue that I think that shouldn't exist. It should be a human who can provide based off of experience and expertise rather than AI services. But I want to get everybody's take on that.
This
Matt,
is Roman. Go ahead.
Thank you, Roman. Yes, Matt, I completely agree with you on that. But on the flip side of that, I'll continue on what you're saying a little bit and what everybody else is touching on. Automation is always going to be flawed. The reason why it's always going to be flawed is because it takes a human to program it. A machine is only as good as its programming. And we as humans, we always make mistakes, and that's why we're always correcting things. Which, to your point, Matt, is when we take our programming and we try to interface them with people, and people are expecting that human personality, and they're getting robotics or an automated reply, if you will. Our brains don't communicate it very well, and they're not communicating with us, and that just causes turmoil. And then we're sitting round and round and cursing it and trying to find any other excuse possible to get our questions answered. But with that being said, with the increased AI production and implementation in our daily lives, more and more people don't want to work. And that's why we're since people don't want to work, they have to fill that spot with a robot, or they're trying to fill that spot with a robot, one, to cut costs for that person to show up and actually make the profits they need to continue their business.
This is Roman. So, Matt, I agree with you as well in regards to human interaction is still very much necessary. And then also, Magnus, to your point on the flip side, that specifically in Google, coming from a technology background, they got rid of a lot of their first level support because when you're that level, you cannot possibly have a workforce that you can manage, that can execute and provide the same level of quality of support to every single one of your people asking support. So Google still does have support that's live, you can say. If you are a spender on Google Ads, you do have a dedicated rep that you can reach out to and that will call you once in a while and things of that nature. But they did get rid of the support if you're going through their technology to kind of get assistance, just because coming from a technology background, I can tell you that it's impossible to provide that level of support and manage people, because you will have moods, personal lives that affect all of that on a daily basis, and you cannot, when you have 10,000 support individuals who are in a call center answering questions, there's no possible way for you to make sure that each one of them provides the same level of quality for support.
I'd like to address what Magnus said. I think it's also important to delineate the profitability over practicality. It is astronomically expensive to start a manufacturing production line mechanically. It is substantially more expensive to bring in machinery than it is to hire people. The difference is people can get hurt. Machinery doesn't get hurt. It gets parts that gets replaced. So in jobs where there is a high risk for physical injury or something to that effect, it is typically not driven by profit so much as it is safety. And I would also like to mention, I wholly appreciate our Google overlords and don't want to say anything negative about them.
Jackie, I do agree with you to a point with the profits. It is very expensive up front, but if you take over the account for the ORI on the machinery that you're implementing, it will pay off over time, as long as it's well maintained and it functions the way it's supposed to be functioning, because you will actually save more money on the workforce, on sick days, on people calling off for whatever reason, health benefits, and taxes. You can't tax a robot, not yet anyway, by the government.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, and it depends on the type of machinery that you have. Your ROI on some of these is, 7 to 10 years, but the wear and tear on the machinery, we have machines that we have to replace every 3 to 5. So we do have a few pieces that have been in the production line longer. It really does depend on how the machine is used, the wear and tear, and the actual service value of it. The other thing too is that modern technology and advancements and upgrades really are making some of these machines almost disposable and replaceable. They're, in my experience, and I obviously can't speak for everybody, but in my experience in 20 years of manufacturing, we have spent far more on machinery than we do on people, and we treat our people incredibly well. Most of our automation was a result of wanting to have an environment that was safer or had better air filtration or better ground filtration. We're certified green. All of those things require a pretty significant investment in automation and mechanization.
I think that's an interesting point that you bring up, and this is Christine, about how you're using automation and robotics, in some form or fashion to provide physical safety for humans. And Adam, to kind of get back to your original question, are we better off with it or without it? I think if we look at what it does for the psychological safety of humans is really interesting, to where, we've had a lot of conversation today about, as people, how much can we automate, and do we want to automate our lives as much as possible? And I think if we look at AI from the standpoint of, can it essentially replace or provide a safety net for me So I individually can evolve, and I can worry less about kind of these tactical, mundane tasks, whether in my personal life or on the job, so that I can use more of my brain power or more of the intelligence within me to contribute to the job or transcend through my own life. I think we're better off because of that.
I completely agree, and I think that was very well said. I want like I mentioned previously, my human interactions to be as human as possible. When I want to disconnect from the world, I go out into the wilderness and spend time with my family. But I can only do that because I'm able to bank remotely. I can check, the markets remotely. I can deal with vendors remotely. That only happens because we are all interconnected, and that interconnectivity relies on artificial intelligence at all stages of the game. And then the advent of, some of this blockchain technology will even make these interactions more global and more diverse. It has a wide-reaching effect that may allow us all to be more human in the long run.
Well said. Great points being
All right.
made here. This is Christy Morel-Stinson speaking again on human experience as a brand differentiator and as a value proposition. I loved what I think it was Christine who was talking about this, of companies investing in offsetting the wear and tear on the physical body in like the trades or other, work intensive type environments. And that's a fabulous differentiator for attracting talent to your company. And I could see a lot of opportunity there. I mean, just untapped opportunity that will be really exciting to explore.
I agree with you, Christy, and Christine, that as technology is used as a helper instead of as a crutch, but we as individuals have to learn how to differentiate that, because that's a very fine line. Is what's actually helping us is going to hurt us. I take our lovely cell phones for example. Is over the years since they've evolved, we've evolved to want faster speeds. We want more more power. We want more space. And in using our phones as a daily tool, we've actually lost some of our brain power of actually storing phone numbers, forgetting how to do things that we have to look up at a second instead of actually researching it. And we actually lost communications with other people, because before all this technology was at our fingertips, we actually talked to each other.
It's Jackie again. And I think that's a valid point. I think that human-to-human interaction has changed. I don't see it as a negative change necessarily. I think it's an adaptation to where our world is going. And I think part of that is globalization. We are now more connected to people on the opposite side of the world than we are our neighbors. And that is what it is. It's not a statement that I'm feeling left out because I'm not connected to my neighbor. I'm feeling privileged because I have the opportunity through this network of connectivity to speak to people like you guys who are on opposite sides of the world. And I can do it live from my, bedroom, or I can do it from a campsite, or I can do it while I'm on the production floor. I have the opportunity that I wouldn't have had 10 years ago, and valuing both my human interactions and still the ability to automate systems and procedures and mechanical processes has allowed for a new and emerging type of living and working, and maybe a different work-life balance. I think people are less tied to where their work was as a result of some of this automation. And to Christine's point, I think that really does give us the opportunity that we wouldn't have had to be shepherds of a new artificial intelligent world.
Hey, it's Jeff from Mission Matters. I love what you guys are saying, and I love the fact that we're steering this back to the opportunities. These are challenges. They're not risks necessarily. I think that we can trust that over the history of mankind that big changes in technology were always met with fear. There's no going back, right? So there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. So I've had this, we talked about this, previously, I think when we talked about technology, like I've completely tried to shift my train of thought. I've got, 20, 30 years left in my career, and I can, the theme I've told you guys is, old dogs, new tricks with my team. And I'm the old dog, and I've stopped saying I've stopped saying, no, I don't do that. That doesn't work for me. I'm not self-promote. I don't brand. Like, all of the lessons that we're kind of learning collectively and a lot of the things we're doing proactively with some of the things we're working on, the books, the podcasts, I've started to lean into it. It's like, okay, it's an opportunity. How am I going to use it to my benefit? And to some of your points, I never would have met, prior to leaning into it, like we would have never been here. I'm learning more. The connectivity is different, but I know something personal about everyone on this Twitter Spaces right now. I've had, meaningful conversations with most of you, and that would have never happened before. And it probably would have happened in a different way on the phone than it did on Zoom. And, what I'm starting to realize is, yeah, it's different and it's, strange medium sometimes, but the opportunity is exciting. I shared previously, I'm meeting my daughter in Roblox, and we are connecting inside Roblox like we don't connect when I say, look at me and look me in the eyes. And I try to try to transcribe my methodology of communication on her 10-year-old brain. And it's been a total breakthrough. Like, we're connecting. And then when I want to lean into my methodology, she's more open to it. So I just think, like, overall, like, if we can start looking at all the opportunities and really lean into it, then we're going to have an opportunity to make changes and to try to drive the narrative more. So thanks for everybody sharing today. It's been really enlightening.
All right. Yeah. So I agree with that, Jeff. It has been enlightening. I think it's just an interesting conversation to keep going, because I know we kind of maybe, jump from topic to topic, from whether it's AI or technology, or, just different facets in technology overall, and through in automations, of course, and what that looks like. And maybe we didn't stick to whatever the strict definition of AI is, but I think that at least one of the themes I took from this is that there's an opportunity to enhance and make all of our lives better, both on the personal side and of course on the business side. So I think it's just been some good takeaways on my end to get that content. So I think also, if we would have had this conversation as I'm listening to everyone talk, if we would have had this conversation probably X amount of years ago, when we hear in the news or other things like that, like, AI, the robots, like they're taking our jobs, or there's going to be less jobs or shift, like I don't hear that much of that talk anymore. I think the whole genie out of the bottle concept is kind of true. Does anybody hear that kind of talk anymore very often about about that same fear? I feel like the same fear is not quite what it once was.
I think
I
there's
would just
been, sorry, this is Jackie. I apologize. I think that there's been a little bit of a political push towards the people don't want to work, people aren't working. And that's not been my experience. I think people are just working differently. And I don't think that they would have had that opportunity had it not been for the advancements in both technology or any sort of automatic, integration of AI.
I'm glad you said that. This is Matt from Mission Matters. And one of the things that I've seen is that AI is taking a little bit longer than kind of where that panic was, Adam, where that panic was around, oh my gosh, everything's going to get replaced by AI, because it was progressing so fast. Now it's slowed down a bit, as far as, especially in the media. And you're right, Jackie, that the media has kind of downplayed it. And I think we're still going to see we're seeing it within Google. And I'm telling you, like, I reached out the other day, and literally they removed an entire department where, if you have an issue with your advertising account and your rep can't help you, or let's even say that you're not spending enough money to have a rep, then they completely don't have any human support anymore. So I do think that people want to work remotely. They want to work differently. They don't necessarily want to go into an office. So it's a change and an adjustment. But if those jobs continue to get replaced and our only option is to interact with AI, what type of experience is that ultimately going to lead to? Is that going to be a positive experience or a negative experience? And I think that's still to come and for us to see. But a lot of these, and we can see it within Google, that they're removing a lot of those service level jobs to where it's phone support, it's support in general. And that's just not going to be there anymore from what we're seeing.
This is Roman. I also think it has to do with the quality of AI. If AI develops to the point where it is actual artificial intelligence, can process and input your data and come up with its own conclusions and provide you that service, I don't think the experience would be much different than talking to a normal person. They would just not be affected with any personal matters or any external factors. They would focus on your request and give you what you need. And who knows, maybe they're getting to the point where it's that. And what's it called? Their AI is already smart enough. But I don't know. I've chatted with some bots that are smarter than some people I know. So I don't know.
There are some really good bots out there. I agree. Oh, that's great. Well, we normally try to keep these to the top of the hour, so I think we can go around, and I know we got a little started late, a little today based on me not hitting the record, but now we got that done. So that being said, if we just want to go around and maybe say any final thoughts or words of wisdoms, or get it out there before we let Chirag wrap it up.
Hey, it's Jeff Norskog. I'll never miss out on final thoughts. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Roman, Chirag, Magnus, Jackie, Annette, Rosemary. I mean, this is magical for me to see, us building community, to see my authors in here chopping it up on interesting topics. Christy was here and some other people. I'm just grateful. It's really meaningful. Like, this is connectivity to me, and it's nice to see it happening organically. So thanks everyone for showing up and bringing such insight and passion and intelligence. It's greatly appreciated from my perspective.
I'd like to thank you guys for letting me participate. I really appreciate all the views that everybody shared and the perspectives. I think that this sort of connectivity is really valuable, and I am very lucky to be included. So thank you guys.
All right. And thank everyone for coming, of course. So, Chirag, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, sure. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, we keep these conversations going weekly. We always change up the topics, and so we'll send out a link and with more information on what we have coming up. Again, these conversations are all recorded, so our team will edit them and then we'll share it with all of the participants and then across our network. So with that, I want to thank everyone for joining the dialogue and looking forward to the next week and the following weeks to come. Hope you all have a good night.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.